Hey guys, it's me, Billy. Very excited to be here with all you guys today because I've got Ryan here with me for happy hour. And he's going to mix us up a drink as a part of happy hour today and teach you guys how to do stuff at home. Ryan, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hey, I'm Ryan from Southern California. I am a lead bartender for Nobu Newport Beach. I create private dining menus for that specific location, and we do a weekly omakase on Thursday, Friday, Saturday nights. It's Japanese-inspired cocktails, a tasting of cocktails, essentially. As a bar team, we come up with the cocktail concepts, and then we allow the chefs to enjoy them, and they create 4 dishes based on the cocktails that are paired with those cocktails. So the tasting is for up to 4 people, and it is on a private bar on a deck overlooking the water. But it's $85 a person, and that's currently something I'm working on there, but we're actually doing our tasting with the beverage director of Nobu International tomorrow. So I'm constantly like looking at new flavors and new things to do, and so that's something I'm doing right now. The daiquiri is from Cuban origins, so supposedly it has come from Cuba. It is going to be a nicely balanced cocktail. It's going to consist of a light rum with a little bit of lime juice, and then a sugar syrup. In this case, we're using a Demerara sugar syrup. For the most part, you're going to need a small kitchen knife, maybe a citrus juicer. You're going to need some sort of glassware. Right now, Billy and I are drinking just in like a simple rocks glass, which is something like this. But a beautiful coupe is always nice as well. Currently, we have some coupes that are chilling in the freezer. Billy's going to show you one of those. So this is what you would serve like a daiquiri in. But you can really honestly whatever you have tonight.
So why'd you choose to make this drink?
Well, I think that it's easy. It's classic, and it's been around probably, longer than most. I mean, yeah, since like the 30s or something. The original daiquiri is quite different. It's just relying on like the fresh ingredients and, like a good high quality rum or something like that. So, and I figured that it's sort of appropriate. Summer's on the way, and it's good for sipping by a pool. And I think it's accessible to a lot of people because while it's super, we're using a sugar syrup and things, which a lot of people don't tend to like really sweet things as they mature in things. A lot of, older people enjoy sort of more balanced or tart, and this is that, it really does like encompass that. It's really nicely tart and balanced, which I think is good for people, for a mass amount of people. So the next thing we're going to do, we have the glasses filling. We're going to make the syrup. So we have some Demerara sugar, which is like a sugar that is made with molasses. You're going to need about like a cup of that. 1 cup. You can measure that out, and then you're going to do a half a cup of water as well. You're going to need a small saucepan in order to make that happen. I have about a cup here. So I'm just going to dump that in my saucepan. Ooh.
And how much water?
Half a cup of water.
Half a cup of water and 1 cup of sugar.
So we're going to put this on the stove top, and we're going to actually just cook this syrup until the sugar has actually dissolved. So you're going to want to cook it on like about a medium temperature or a medium setting on your stovetop, and you're going to want to watch it. So you want to just kind of be there stirring it as you go, and making sure that it doesn't actually come to a boil. You just want it to like kind of simmer and let the sugar dissolve, and that's pretty much it. If you were to sort of let it boil or something, that's going to evaporate some of your water, and then it's also going to bring your sugar up in temperature to where it potentially could change stages and actually become like candy or caramel sauce or so many other things. So you really do want to just like stand there and make sure that you're just waiting for it to dissolve. So we're just going to allow that to come together. He just turned the flame on, and it's 1 cup of that Demerara sugar and half a cup of water.
Out of curiosity, why Demerara? I love it, but just what?
So it's just like a richer style of sugar. It's going to have a little bit more depth of flavor, which is good in something like this where you're using very basic flavors, like a young rum or a light rum, if you will. A young rum is going to be really like sort of immature compared to a darker rum or a spiced rum or something. Young rum is only going to have been aged from only a few months to maybe a couple years, but it's usually in stainless steel barrels. So that's why it's still clear in color. That's why it's also, it's going to have less flavor. It's mostly just relying on the sugar cane or the sugar that it's used to, that was used to make it for flavor. So it doesn't have a ton of flavor. It's good for cocktails. Anything that's going to be like an immature liquor, whether it's tequila or mezcal or, rum or whiskey even, the less that it's been aged, the less that it's been in like an oak barrel where it's going to get a ton of flavor or something like that, that is going to be more ideal for cocktails because 1, it's going to be more inexpensive, and 2, it's going to have less flavor, and so therefore it melds better with cocktail flavors and things that you want to do flavor-wise.
Hey, so, one more question here. How aggressively should I be whisking? And
so just be lightly stirring. You don't need to go crazy or nothing. Just so that it doesn't really, if it starts to like bubble and boil, you can pretty much probably bet that the sugar is probably dissolved and you're good to go. And you can turn the heat off. But just a light stir. You're just making sure that it's like, you're just watching it so that sugar can change temperatures quite rapidly. And so if you do step away, it's making sure you're not turning your syrup into caramel sauce. And no boiling, no bubbles. So yeah, that's why I would use like a nice sugar. You can substitute Demerara. It's made with molasses, so it's like turbinado sugar. It's like, brown sugar. It just has a little bit more of a ratio of molasses in it, so it's going to have a bit more of that caramelly color, that caramelly flavor. But you can definitely substitute if you weren't to have Demerara. You would use, brown sugar and that would be fine, or just like simple, brown baking sugar or whatever.
Ryan, how come when you started to make your drink, you set up one of these here on the table?
This would be considered like a mise en place. In like French cooking techniques, you always start with your mise en place. This is going to be everything in its place, if you will. Before you start any project, whether you're baking, whether you're cooking dinner for the night, or whether I'm making a cocktail or if I'm about to sort of come up with something, I sort of get everything that I need together to begin so that I never have to leave the kitchen. I never have to, look for what I need at that moment. I'm ready to go. So if I do need to stand by my syrup so that I watch it, I don't have to worry. I have my spatula already to stir, so that you're constantly able to sort of be on alert and sort of get your, be efficient. So your syrup is working, right?
Yeah.
Once your syrup comes off, you're going to need something to pour it in because you're not going to want to keep it into your pan. So I'd say maybe get some sort of receptacle, like a little dish, or maybe even like a mason jar is good. Something that you're going to store it in. I keep some of these like squeeze bottles at home, because this is great for syrups and things if you're going to ever do, have cocktail night or whatever. But I would just do, some just like little sort of ramekin or something is perfect for this, because you're going to want to take it out of the pan and cool your syrup efficiently.
Would you recommend that I put this in the freezer or?
So it depends on, for our purposes, I think whatever you put it in, yeah, it's totally fine to put it in the fridge. You could technically set something like this out and just let it come to room temperature, if you had time. But for the purposes of doing this tonight, and making the cocktail, you do want the syrup to be cool for when you put it into your cocktail, because you really don't want it to melt your ice and sort of dilute your cocktail. So for our purposes, yeah, just put it in a little container and then maybe just set it in the fridge. You also could do something called an ice bath, which is something where you get a larger container, fill it with water, put a little ice in it, and then set your container with the syrup in it right inside. So it kind of just like bathes it. So something like where you put water in something like this with little ice cubes, and then dip your syrup in that way, and that would have just sort of cool it much faster. But it's fine in the fridge or in the freezer or something. So once your syrup is chilled, or you're chilling your syrup, there's really not much to do other than juice your lime so that you have fresh lime juice. Again, you're gonna probably need something just to kind of juice your lime juice into. So I have just like a little dish that I'm gonna squeeze my lime juice into. I also am setting over a little mesh strainer. This is just something that helps kind of get some of your pulp out. It's like not entirely necessary for a cocktail like this with fresh lime juice that is intended to be really lime juice heavy. Is totally okay to maybe have some pulp in it. Some people might like that, but for most purposes, you're going to always strain out pulp, because the integrity of most cocktails is supposed to be sort of smooth and have a nice mouthfeel. So, but if you don't have one tonight, it's not going to like kill you. I'm going to half my limes. So I have 2 limes. That should probably do it tonight, because for one cocktail we just need, I believe, 3/4 lime juice. So 3/4 ounce of lime juice. So usually I would say that's probably about 1 lime, or maybe 1 1/4 lime. But
I'm using Meyer lemon today.
Totally. That sounds delicious.
I got some for you soon.
I would do, so you've got your ends, so
yeah.
cut it right down the center. Yep, so cut it, cut it down the center, just like you showed. Yep,
okay.
Exactly. So we're gonna juice our limes, and I just have half my lime. I'm gonna juice it. I have one of these citrus pressers that you can get at pretty much any store. And I'm just gonna sort of squeeze it so that it gets all the juice out, and I have a nice sort of reservoir of it for making cocktails.
What if they don't have one of those juicers?
If you don't have a juicer, you can use like a fork. A fork would be a great way to sort of juice a lime. Will you grab me a fork, please? So if you have your half of lime here, a fork is a really good reamer. You would just kind of get it in there and then sort of move it all around, maneuver it all around, and you really can get a good amount of juice out with just a fork. Another hack is going to be putting your lime into the microwave for 10 seconds. Depending on how hot your microwave might be. Ours is really crazy hot. 10 seconds would probably fry this. 5 seconds maybe. Cut it in half, and it's really going to get all the juices like going.
Oh, I love that. I've never heard that.
Really? Yeah, no, it's a great way to sort of get all the juice out. If you were just to put this in the microwave and then cut it, it'll all just sort of the juice comes real easy. You could also even char a lime and put like a flame to it, just like you would like a roasted pepper or something like that. And the char would actually add like a really nice caramelized sugariness to it. It would kind of bring out the caramelized sugars of the lime. So that could actually be really good. All right, so I am gonna do the juice of 2 limes just so that I have extra.
And how much lime juice do you need for the drink?
For the drink, I need 3/4 of an ounce. So 3/4 of an ounce is not a lot, but I'm thinking that I'm probably gonna make a few cocktails. There's 2 of us. And also, you can always sort of save your lime juice, and if you wanted to have the cocktail tomorrow night at happy hour, then you can do that too. So we've got our syrup, we've got our lime juice. Your lime juice is reserved. And then you also have your rum. So I'm using tonight a Plantation white rum. It's actually, this is a blended white rum, which is, I thought when I went to the store, I was like, this is really kind of fun, because Although it's younger rums, it's a blend from 3 different regions, but mostly each island of the Caribbean has different ways of making it, or different sort of fruits that they use or spices in order to flavor the rum. And so this particular one from Plantation is Jamaican rum, Barbados rum, and Trinidad rum. I'm interested to sort of see how that tastes in our drink tonight. I thought that it might give it a little more flavor, although still being a white rum. For the next step, let's build our cocktail. So for me, I have a Boston shaker. This is something that I use at work, but this style is different. I use this style at home. This is going to be like a glass and a metal shaker that fit together. But usually in my professional career, I use like only metal ones that are all stainless steel. And also that style of shaker is perfectly fine. Yep, totally. I build in the smaller, so I'm gonna start building my cocktail, and then we'll kind of shake it up and we'll make our cocktail.
I get the syrup from the fridge now?
What's that?
Should I get the syrup from the fridge?
I actually totally forgot about one little step that I think we should do before we move into the cocktail, which is, you sort of eat and drink with your eyes first. And so I think that it's really important, even when I'm home and I'm making cocktails for Billy and I always make a garnish, because you want it to look beautiful, because that's a part of the enjoyment process. So I think tonight I'm just doing something simple. I made one earlier for the cocktail I was drinking. It's literally just going to be like a slice of the citrus, and then I have these fun little picks that I'm putting through it. So I'm going to make one for the new cocktails that Billy and I are going to do. So for this purpose, I'm just cutting just nice wheels of limes, really simple, like nothing too crazy. I think that, garnishes should just be sort of an accentuation of the drink, maybe show you an ingredient that's in the drink, and not be too crazy. But it's also really fun. I think that for me, I'm not somebody that doesn't appreciate a beautiful garnish, because it really does make the cocktail pop, in my opinion. For me, I have these awesome little picks that Billy was sort of explaining to you. You can get this stuff anywhere. I buy stuff on Amazon, TJ Maxx, like all of the above. But I'm just kind of like skewering it through, so it makes like a little kind of crescent moon, if you will, or something like that. And this is going to be one of our garnishes, and our second garnish for Billy's drink. So, and then I have those just kind of waiting on the side until I build this drink and make them. That way they're ready to go and they're ready to garnish. All right, so I'm going to start building my cocktail. Typically with cocktails, when you're building something, you want to start with, in all honesty, the cheaper ingredients, because if you mess up, it's easier to throw that away than, your alcohol. So you always want to start with, your syrups or your liqueurs, and then move on to your citrus, and then move on to your liquor, the expensive stuff. So I'm going to start. I have a jigger here. You can get this anywhere. Amazon is a great place. This is a great way to measure. I use this sometimes even for other things if I can't find a measuring spoon or something. So, but I'm going to start with my sugar syrup and my citrus.
Ice in now or later?
I'm sorry?
Ice in now or later?
Later. So you can grab your syrup, you have your lime juice, and then maybe grab a little cup of ice or something like that, so that you have that next to you, and then we'll build it, you'll ice it, you'll shake it, and you'll be good.
This is very exciting.
So I have a little thing of ice that I have here that I'm gonna throw in once I have my whole thing built. All right. So I have my jigger here, and I'm using the 1 ounce portion of my jigger. I also have my sugar syrup that I chilled earlier. I'm gonna put 3/4 ounce of the Demerara sugar into my mixer. I'm doing a double batch, so I'm going to do another one because I kind of forgot that Billy was next to me, and he'll want one as well. So if you're doing a double, you would do like 1.5 ounces, obviously, just double your recipe. Usually you don't do like 3, 4 in a shaker, but just depends on what type of party you're having, I guess. So I'm gonna do my lime juice. I also have some chilled lime juice that I squeezed a little earlier, and that is chilled as well. Again, like most of the time, if you're making a cocktail fresh, it's totally fine, but you really do want to have chilled ingredients because it really does help in less dilution of your ice. The goal is to sort of have a flavorful drink, but a lot of times, you know, if you're just using basic at-home ice, that's going to dilute really easily. It's just water that's been frozen, and so you really do want less dilution. So cold ingredients equals less dilution. So again, I'm going to do 1.5 because I'm doing a double batch, but I'm moving on to my lime juice now for the cocktail. Got that all in your tin? So far I have my Demerara sugar syrup and I have my lime juice in my cocktail shaker. Now I have my rum. I'm using that Plantation rum. I have to do, so it's 2 ounces for our cocktail on our recipe that we're using. So if you're following along, 2 ounces is where you want to be. For myself, I'm doing 4 ounces because Billy's here with me. All right. So now is the time that you probably want to grab your cocktail glass. So whatever you're using tonight, if it's in the freezer, grab it now. Thank you. Okay, all right, so I've got my frozen glass. I've got everything set up. I'm gonna put a little bit of ice into my shaker. So here I have my ice, and just, you know, you don't have to overdo it. You don't have to fill it to the top, but you want a good amount of ice. Now we're using just basic at-home ice. I thought that would be fine because we're at home, and we're also just, you know, this is what you would do if you're at home. You obviously, there's companies out there now that serve really expensive ice that you can purchase. It'll be delivered to your door, and it's free of air bubbles. It's purified water. It's crystal clear. You can see right through it. And those are all companies that sort of work in less dilution for your cocktails experience, and you can do it at home now. So anyway, I'm gonna basically seal my Boston shaker. Seal that up nice and good. I'm gonna give it a good 10-second shake, and then we're gonna crack it open and pour it into our cocktail.
Dan, pour it in me.
Nice, good 10-second shake. All right, so I'm gonna hit that. All right, so I have a strainer here. If you have a different style of shaker, you know, that just, you know, pop the top and you're good to pour. But basically I'm using this type of strainer in my Boston shaker, and I'm gonna pour my cocktails right into my chilled glass.
It's important to know you have to hold that shaker strainer to the Boston shaker when you're pouring it, because it just will flip off and you'll spill the drink everywhere.
Yep. So I'm gonna garnish my drink with my beautiful garnishes that I made earlier. And you have 2 classic daiquiris.
Yay!
Yours looks great. Cheers.
Cheers! Thank you so much.